So we knew that Putin's retribution was coming. I mean, everybody could see that coming a mile away. But it turns out that it's less bad than what it was going to be in two different ways. And I'll show you what I mean. There's a lot here, and it's fascinating. My name is Darren Gertis. I'm just a professor trying to provide you with context in the war in Ukraine. Here is what happened. Air raid alert for map for Ukraine last night covers the entire country. And 100 Russia launched 407 drones, 45 missiles against Ukraine in an overnight assault. And this probably would have been worse the other night, except for Operation Spiderweb. And it probably would have been worse tonight, except for Operation Spiderweb and what Ukraine did tonight to actually blunt some of the things. It's amazing. Watch this. So on the night of June 6th, from 8 p.m. to June 5th, Russian forces launched 452 air attack assets. That includes the 407 drones, and then the rest are all missiles. And if you look at the breakdown, you see 368 out of 407 of various types of drones, 4 out of 6 Iskander and KN-23 ballistic missiles were shot down. So 2 of those got through. And then you see 30 out of 36 KH-101. So 6 out of those got to. 2 out of 2 Iskander K cruise missiles. Neither of those got through. And 0 out of 1 anti-radar missile. So the anti-radar missile got through. So the missiles are what do the greatest damage. But the Shaheds can still jack up various buildings that they fly into them and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's look at what the Russians were doing to the Ukrainians first, and then why it wasn't as awful as it could have been. It was bad, but it wasn't as awful as it could have been, and then what the Ukrainians did to the Russians after that. Footage of 4 Russian missiles hitting sites in Lusk, western Ukraine. Like, this is actually just video. It's just caught at the right moment coming out. Like, you can see what the intensity of the strike. 4 people injured in the Russian attack in Chernihiv. There might be more under the debris. And again, across, a half dozen to a dozen different cities, you see the same kind of thing again and again. During the Russian attack, people used the Kyiv subway as a shelter. This video is one of the recent attacks, but it's a Kyiv subway. It looks exactly the same kind of stuff going on right now. Now, General Kellogg, the negotiator for Ukraine, his daughter actually works for a Ukrainian charity or nonprofit or NGO something. Loud night in Kyiv, Dad. She's posting on X. It might be the explosions and gunfire in the dead of night, but I get the strange feeling the Russians don't want peace. Turns out they don't want peace. Here's the trajectory of the aerial targets during the Russian attack on Ukraine. I mean, they're everywhere, right? I mean, it was bad. And again, they don't go in a straight line either. They weave all around, making it harder for air defense to figure out where exactly they're going to be going. Okay, today Russia attacked Ukraine with 38 cruise missiles instead of over 108. This is what I'm talking about, like how much worse this could have been or would have been the other day, when the Russians are now complaining that the Ukrainians don't want peace because the night before the Istanbul conference, just like 3 or 4 days ago, they were going to do this to Ukraine. Today, Russia attacked Ukraine with 38 cruise missiles instead of over 108 because Operation Spiderweb took out so many of the bombers from which these missiles are launched. Russia intended to launch the largest ever missile attack to break the record of 108 cruise missiles. Now, I'm not sure if they were intending to break the record. Like, he could be right about this. Operation Zeus Lightning is this idea that they were going to do this like massive thing just before Istanbul and then, bring the Ukrainians to their knees. Yeah, didn't work out so well. And they were pretty unhappy at the Istanbul conference the other day. The Russian delegation was. One of the largest Kremlin-connected military bloggers is whining after an insufficient number of Russian bombers were available for last night's attacks on Ukrainian cities. This is Fighter Bomber. You've probably heard of him. I wrote a sheet of text based on our responses 6 times, but erased them all. That's how upset he was. So if today's strike was a response to at least 4 T attacks and the destruction of strategists, then it was worthless. I'm not going to read the rest of it. You can pause it and see what incoherent, profane stuff he wrote. Okay. Ukrainian forces conducted a preemptive strike on Russian air bases ahead of a major attack. So now we're not just talking about what happened the other day. We're talking about today. The Engels Air Base in Saratov, home to the concentrated Russian aviation, was hit, causing significant damage. Diaghilevo Air Base in Ryazan, hosting aerial refuelers and escort fighters used in missile strikes on Ukraine, was also targeted. Additionally, multiple fuel tanks in Saratov caught fire, resulting in large blaze. This is from the general staff. Okay, so yeah, a lot of hits. And let's just walk our way through them. But before we do, Darth Putin said, last night we retaliated against Ukraine by doing exactly the same things that we've done for more than 3 years. Yeah, that's right. They just did it a little bit more, a little bigger scale. Okay, while Russian monitoring channels clear the alarm for occupied Crimea, explosions were happening in the Tula region in Russia. And then we saw this. Russian media reported that the Mi-8 helicopter was destroyed and the Mi-35 helicopter was damaged by an attack in Bryansk airfield last night. Reportedly, the Mi-8 helicopter burned down completely. Its combat kit detonated. No official confirmation, but then we see confirmation in other places. Russian helicopters were targeted in Bryansk, reportedly Mi-8 and Mi-35. A recent low-resolution satellite imagery showed that 2 helicopters were often parked in the area of the strike. And then we see this. This was big. Reports from Bryansk. Russia suggests that multiple high-level targets may have been hit. Iskander launchers intended for strikes on Ukraine, ammo depot with Iskander missiles, aircraft delivering fresh missiles, airfield base aviation, all are legitimate high-impact military targets. So there is a big boom or multiple big booms there, and yeah. Okay, Ukraine destroyed a stockpile of Iskander-M ballistic missiles at the Bryansk airfield. Each missile cost $3 million to manufacture. Russia produces around 65 Iskander-M missiles per month. So yeah, that's a good hit. Powerful explosions near Bryansk airfield. Same thing. Earlier today, SBU claimed a strike on Iskander launchers in the region, and there is video confirmation of that. Okay. Meanwhile, this was really odd to see. Ukraine's 14th Regiment of the Unmanned Systems Forces released photos insinuating that the massive strike on Bryansk airfield that destroyed Iskander missiles may have been carried out from inside Russia, just because they're showing them where they're showing them. Once we were afraid of the dark, now the dark is afraid of us. Now, I don't know if that's actually inside Russia showing that, or they're just trying to. Maybe it's psychological warfare. I don't know, but yeah, a serious slap in the face of the power of the Russian Federation. Ukraine's drone war is entering a new phase, covert, relentless, and far-reaching. As the Washington Post warns, Ukraine's dirty war is just getting started. That's right. I mean, they're not stopping either. And Anton Gurashenko wrote this: Ukrainians are defining global history right now more than we ever realized ourselves. That's right. Okay, now let's turn to the next place, Engels Air Base. Engels Air Base was also attacked. Reports also indicate strikes on Diaghilevo Air Base in Ryazan region and electronics plant in Tambov region. So that looks like something's going wrong there. Crystal Aviation fuel depot that supplies Engels Air Base burns after Ukrainian drone strikes. You'd think they would be able to protect this better. Like, it's been targeted multiple times, but okay. Things are not going well at Russia's Engels 2 Air Base today. You can see big plumes here. Oil depot at Russia's Engels base greet the day with fires probably seen from space. Fires expanding at the aviation fuel depot that services Engels Air Base. Okay, so at least 3 tanks have been on fire. Oil depot there, 2 massive fuel tanks were certainly in flame. It looks like maybe 3, and that's what this looks like on a map. Okay, Ukraine's drone swarms are attacking Saratov, Engels, and Ryazan. Here's Saratov oil refinery on fire. Imagine if Ukraine's allies hadn't tied their hands for 3 years, preventing them from doing all the things that they're doing right now to dismantle Russia's war machine. Great commentary. Okay, let's look at what happened just yesterday. 1160 Russians off the battlefield, 2 tanks, 5 armored vehicles, 44 artillery systems, 101 vehicles and fuel tanks. This is a little higher than yesterday, which was at 9 something. The day before was at almost 1,000. So we're right on track to, within a week, be at 1,000,000. Look at this, 993. We're almost to 1,000,000 casualties, and we'll be there by next Sunday. In the cross direction, Russian invaders led 51 assaults. Ukrainian forces recently advanced near Hulapol in western Zaporizhia, while Russian forces recently advanced near Kupiansk, Liman, and Toretsk. They're pushing, but they're pushing slowly. Russians are just a half a kilometer away from the Petrovsk regional border. The occupiers have moved or have advanced near the village of Trotsky, according to military monitoring group Deep State. Again, they're making progress, but it's very, very slow, very costly progress. Okay, now I saw this and I thought, wow, that's worth highlighting. The first indication of Ukraine using combined arms operation, like no joke, for real combined arms operation against the Russian invaders on their own soil in the Kursk region. This is Ukrainian F-16 aircraft dropping U.S.-supplied GBU-39 SDB precision glide bombs on Russian trench positions to support Ukrainian infantry. If they could have been fighting like this all along, if they had the supplies to be able to do this, I don't think we'd still be fighting at this point. Okay, the ISW continues to assess that Russia's disproportionately large manpower and material losses from marginal territorial gains across the theater are unsustainable in the medium term and unlikely to result in significant rapid gains. So, yeah, they may pick up a little progress in the short run, medium run. I don't know. Okay, now this video came out late today. Part of this is because at a certain point, I just have to sleep too. And so I got up early, prepped it, and then went back to sleep. But it's also because like stuff like this, I have to weed through things. This satellite image is not real. We're at a point where AI-generated intelligence sources are becoming a fundamental and critical issue. This is a crisis of trust, not just the sources that we look toward for information, but also in our very understanding of reality. Yeah, AI is wonderful, but it also creates things that are hard to believe. Now, the way that I deal with this is I'm dealing with open source sources and showing you what the open source sources are saying, and I'm trying to rely on as many trustworthy open source sources as humanly possible. And sometimes they get it wrong, and then I'll come back and I'll tell you, hey, remember this that we talked about? We got it wrong. So I'll correct. Okay, trust in a source is critical, but it requires the reader to possess a substantial amount of knowledge and experience in the subject. Writing something is hard. Fact-checking is very hard. It is. It's very hard. All right, just a few more things. Russia forbids troops from riding vehicles without drone protection, but there aren't enough real jammers. So the solution? Fake it. Paint household cookware to look military. Pass the checkpoint. Hope the Ukrainian drones don't notice. I think that's a great idea. Do more of that. That's wonderful. We change kids' toys into weapons, says Diver. His workshop produces 60 to 70 combat-ready drones from DJI components and 3D printed parts in a secret lab somewhere on the front. Yeah, this is happening all over Ukraine, in basements all around the country where just groups of Ukrainians are, that's all they're doing is creating these drones and getting them out. And yeah, this decentralized approach is what's making it work for Ukraine. They have so many is hard to operate, but so many is also harder to jam as well. 81 years ago today, U.S. paratroopers parachuted behind enemy lines to defeat the Nazis. This was D-Day 81 years ago today. So another comment saying like, yeah, it wasn't just Russia. There's more to the story here, and they always talk about the Great Patriotic War as though it was just the Russian show. It wasn't, and this was D-Day, June 6th, 81 years ago today. All right. 2 years ago, Russia committed a monstrous war crime and blew up the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant. The dam was destroyed during the night of June 6th. Massive surge of water from the Kakhovka reservoir rapidly engulfed dozens of settlements on both banks of the Dnipro River in both occupied and liberated territories. This one hit me like a brick. When this happened, I was stunned by that. And I can't believe that was 2 years ago today. On this day, Darth Putin says, on this day in 2023, we blew up the Kakhovka dam. My tankies believe two incompatible things. One, Russia may use nukes and end humanity. And two, Russia's too nice to blow up a dam. Yeah, interesting when he says it. And then I'll leave you with this, my friends, this image. The owner held his cat's paw. This is in the subway. The owner held his cat's paw the whole time while they hid from Russian missiles during last night's brutal attack on Kyiv. It's incredibly hard for animals to cope with Russian tea. So this guy is trying to keep his cat calm and safe, but I think it worked the other way as well. I think that and there's psychological literature and about this kind of thing. Like when you're taking care of someone else, you forget about yourself and you worry, you focus on them, and that's actually really healthy for you. At any rate, I think this was quite a visual metaphor for the whole experience of what happened last night. Thank you for your time, my friends. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.